Hey, so in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about why you feel so empty, why you feel purposeless, why you feel like life has no meaning, why you have that just sense within yourself that you're not fully satisfied, like there's something missing. You can't quite put your finger on it. Maybe you look around externally and you've ticked all the boxes of things that you could possibly want in life, all the major things. Maybe not, but maybe you have this kind of just niggling feeling within yourself that you've not fully satisfied everything that you need. There's something within you that hasn't got what it needs. It's not fully happy. And I felt like this at one point in my life. I had, as many of you know, I've meditated since I was about 6 years old, and I meditated for quite a long time. And then when I was in my early 20s, I had the urge to test myself physically. I don't know where it came from or what that was about, but I just felt like I really needed to push myself to my physical limits. And so I signed up for a triathlon, and I couldn't swim. I could swim just like to survive, but I couldn't swim up and down and do like proper lengths. So I watched YouTube videos. I taught myself how to swim. I started practicing and swimming 3 times a week. I was also running and cycling. I decided that I wanted to do an Ironman eventually, so I had signed up for a sprint distance triathlon, and this felt like even a huge step for me. So I was swimming 3 times a week, and eventually I got to the point where it was comfortable just going up and down. I could swim all day long, and my fitness was building. I was feeling stronger. Eventually I got a better bike, and over the course of about 4 or 5 years, I basically went from someone that couldn't swim, that would go on a 2-mile run and it felt brutal, didn't have a bike, like a road bike, and had bought a road bike, a really cheap one, and just was getting into the swing of that. I had never used clip-on shoes or anything, and in the space of like 4 or 5 years, I went from that to racing for Great Britain in triathlon. I also raced for Great Britain in duathlon, which is a run event. Raced all over the world, basically, in different countries, and got to a good level and raced at national level, won races, like loads of different things. But it started with this desire to want to push myself physically beyond what I'd ever pushed myself before. And I ticked that box, and I achieved loads for myself, for what I wanted to achieve in the sport of triathlon. Did all the distances, all the way up to Ironman, which is really long distance triathlons, and did all sorts of other things as well. Climbed mountains all over the place, raced ultra marathons. Did more than I ever thought initially I could probably do. But what this led to eventually was, I was about 25 by the time I got towards the tail end of this, and 24, 25. And I remember starting to feel an emptiness within me. I remember starting to feel like I wasn't fully satisfied anymore. Like there was something that was missing. There was something that I wasn't attending to. Couldn't put my finger on it. I looked around externally and I was like, well, I've got a decent job. I had a job as a heating engineer. I had my own company with another guy. We were doing pretty well. Nothing exceptional, but just like, we were comfortable. We were doing all right. I had plenty of friends. I was living with a nice group at the time. I was house sharing, but I was living with basically a guy who became my friend. And I was very, very fit. I was achieving loads in the sport of triathlon. I was still meditating, but my meditations I wasn't going into my meditations with the same intent. It had become more of a box ticking exercise. And this emptiness started to form. And I couldn't understand what it was. I'd look around and I'd think, well, all of these boxes that I'm ticking, there's all these boxes in life that I want to tick, basically, and I'm ticking them all, but there's something that's not quite right. There's something that's not quite satisfied. And eventually, a long story short, basically, I came to realize that throughout my period of time doing triathlon and getting involved in that whole world, I had become entangled in this outer world, so to speak. I had let go of my connection with the divine, my spiritual pursuits, you could call it, that side of myself, that spiritual side of myself, I'd let go of that to some degree. Not entirely, but to some degree. And I had thrown myself into this physical life and racing in triathlon and things like that. And basically I was tending to my physical and my mental well-being, but my spiritual well-being was being pushed to one side whilst I threw myself into this world of triathlon, because it needed a lot of time. I was training about 20 hours a week, and I was absolutely knackered every day. Basically, I was training every single day. I had a coach, I was sponsored, and it was all going really well, but this other part of myself wasn't being tended to. And it's important to remember that as human beings, we have these three components. We have the physical, we have the mental, and we have our spiritual. And you can't expect to let go of one and feel fully complete. You can't expect to just be getting yourself really physically fit, mentally robust, and not tend to this spiritual element of yourself and feel totally satisfied. And often, obviously, people don't really know that there is a spiritual component to themselves, but I know for certain that there is, based on my experiences, my different spiritual experiences in meditations and things like that, which I've spoke about many times on this channel. But this made me realize that there are so many people around the world that feel empty, that feel like their life doesn't really have any meaning, or they've ticked all of the boxes of things that they want in their life. They feel like externally they've got everything they could possibly want, but internally they've got nothing. They feel just like, their life doesn't have any purpose, any meaning to it. They've not satisfied that inner satisfaction, that inner part of themselves, and often they don't know why. And so I want to give you some things that you can do to satisfy that. I want to show you how I went about changing and how you can do the same as well. If you're someone that feels empty inside, like your life doesn't have much meaning anymore, or you don't feel content inward and you're not sure why. And I wrote an email to my subscribers recently, and what I said within the email was, there was a quote, and the quote goes something along the lines of, man is in search of the veiled and has forgotten the revealed. And essentially what it means is that us as human beings, we're seeking what we're looking for, which is actually the divine. That's the ultimate thing that we're looking for inwardly, although we don't know it consciously necessarily. But our soul, or our spirit, you could say, is yearning for that truth, that reconnection. But we, as human beings, because we don't know that, and because we're conditioned by society and friends and family and everything to aspire for things in the world, we're seeking the veiled, which is the material things that aren't the true reality of what we're actually after. And so we seek in the outer world through experiences, through challenges, through hobbies, through relationships, through all of these various different things that we all get very busy doing in life. We seek some level of happiness and satisfaction from those things, or we think, whether it's consciously or not, we think that these things are going to fully satisfy us, and they don't. They only satisfy you maybe for a few moments, for a few days, for a few weeks, but then eventually this yearning comes back. This, what's that? There's something that's not quite right in my life. So all of the outer, external things that we can have, achieve, experience, they only provide you with temporary satisfaction. They only scratch that itch temporarily. But in order to really delve deep and get to the bottom of that, and this is based on my experience, because I've felt that way at one point in my life, you have to turn to what this quote described as the revealed. So the part that is beyond all of this physical stuff. This physical stuff is made up of this divine energy, you could say. And we as human beings are really looking to re-establish ourselves and root ourselves in the divine. That's the whole purpose of this human existence. Partly to experience life, partly to experience life in a physical body, to be able to taste things, to be able to smell, to be able to touch, all of the things that we wouldn't have been able to do in our natural state, in our light bodies. We have come into this physical realm so that we can do that. But as you will read in various different scriptures and based on spiritual masters, basically, they say that, we've been caught in this cycle now of coming back into this human realm. And we're doing that. That's happening because we are only desiring things within this physical realm. And so by the law of attraction, we're bringing this back to us. We're not aspiring for big enough. We're not aspiring for the truth. We're seeking answers purely in the physical. And in order to scratch that itch, in order to satisfy yourself, you actually have to connect back with the divine or the infinite, the absolute, God, whatever word you want to use. And I want to be clear that I'm not talking in any religious terms here. This is a direct path. You don't need to go through a religion. So if you're turned off by that, if you're someone that thinks, well, I'm not into religion, perfect. This is a route that you can take, because I'm someone that has studied a lot of the religions. I think a lot of them have loads of beautiful teachings to offer, but I don't align myself with any one in particular. I just go directly to the source, and I do that through meditation. When I meditate, I communicate with the divine directly, and I don't mean that I see the divine and that I've realized the divine, but I connect with, and I do feel the divine, but I've not realized the divine yet. That's a process that is unfolding for me gradually. But I connect with the divine through meditation, through prayer, through the repetition of mantras, and this, for me, satisfies that inner desire, just somewhat. There's always going to be a slight yearning, and that yearning, I believe, will always be there until you actually merge back with the divine, when you peel away all the layers of individuality, or this sense of individuality, and actually merge back with. When that happens, when there is no longer a sense of Ben, and there's no longer a sense of me being separate, I believe at that point the yearning will absolutely be gone. But it satisfies it enough by just connecting with the divine through these various different modalities, like I mentioned: meditation, prayer, mantra. And you can find your own modality, your own ways of doing this. But for me, when I started doing this again with the right intent, when I let go of some of my attachment to achieving things in the physical world, and I spent more time inside meditating, but meditating with more intensity, with more desire to communicate with the divine, when I started asking the divine for guidance and help, when I started communicating daily, and looking at my day as if it was a pie chart, and having at least a portion of the day where I dedicated it to developing this relationship with the divine, with the absolute. For me, that started to fill this hole that I felt. And I know this to be the case for a lot of other people as well. This isn't something that I've just experienced. I've taught many people around the world, actually, and I don't bring this up with everyone, because I teach meditation. It's not always appropriate, but for a lot of people who have been ready and have been open enough for me to talk to them in this way, it's helped them. It's helped them massively. So if you're someone who feels like this, if you're someone who does feel empty, feel like something's missing, you're not really sure where to go or what this life is about, this is the video for you. This is what you need to hear. And whether you act upon it or not, that's your own choice, your own free will. I'm not telling you have to do this or even you should do this, really. This is just what I've done and what I have had other people do, or shown other people and they've then done and had amazing results from. And for me, it's given my whole life purpose. It's ticked that box of the spiritual pillar. So I'm now satisfying the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And everything started then to align very nicely for me. And for the last 5-6 years now, 6 years roughly, I've been living in this way. And before that, for a long time, I'd been meditating a hell of a lot. But now I feel like I've found an amazing alignment in my life, and I really want you to have that as well. So if you're someone that is in this position and you're looking to improve, you're looking to satisfy that part of yourself, start by meditating. Start by inwardly in your own mind communicating with what you perceive as a higher power, whether that's just the universe, the divine, God, the absolute, whether you don't even want to label it, whether you just want to in your mind say, I know there's something more, please guide me, please help me, I want to start to communicate with you and have your assistance and learn more about you. That for me gives life purpose, and as I say, it fills that sense of emptiness. I no longer have that. I've not had that for about 6 years, and I'm confident that if you do it, it will have the same impact on you, but only experience will give you that knowing, I guess. So it's up to you to put in the work. So I hope this video has been useful. If you have any questions, as always, please do let me know in the comments, and I'll try and help you as best I can. But I will leave it at that, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks so much.